Welcome back. We are so excited for today's episode. AAfPE's podcast, Legal Luminaries, shines a spotlight on the insights, trends, and voices shaping the future of the paralegal education and legal profession. Legal Luminaries is designed to connect you with thought leaders, innovators, and trailblazers in the legal field. With me today is my co-host and fellow paralegal educator, Kelli Radnothy. Our first guest today is Paige Beadham, president of AAfPE. So without further ado, let's welcome Paige to AAfPE's Legal Luminaries. So
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Paige. So let's dive in. You, Kelli, and me, we all attended NalaCon 24 in Louisville, Kentucky in July. Can you just share a little bit about your experience with us?
Sure. I was very excited. I was a first-time attendee at the NALA conference in Louisville, Kentucky. Excited because I'm from Kentucky, but also because NALA does a fabulous job of bringing people together. As we all talk about conferences and what you want to look at, I really think conferences, of course, are about the content, no question. And no question, NALA did an amazing job with content. And they bring people together to connect, and it gives us perspective. The conference, and I'm sure you guys experienced this too, but there were people all over the country that come together and you can make these connections, makes you feel like you're not alone, makes you understand some of the really larger perspective issues that are going on. So it was just a really great opportunity to connect with people throughout.
You know, I agree completely, Paige. I was also a first timer at the conference, and I had such a wonderful time connecting with all of these other legal professionals from, like you said, around the country. What I really loved about it was I got to meet other paralegal educators who I had the privilege of also interviewing at conference, in between, of course, those awesome educational sessions like you talked about. So in your role as president of AAfPE, you've been this incredible champion for paralegal education and the profession overall. So in fact, I believe on August 6th, AAfPE announced National Paralegal Day as a collaborative effort between AAfPE, NALA, NIFPA, and NALS. And I believe you were quoted as saying, National Paralegal Day is a long overdue recognition of the vital role paralegals play in the legal ecosystem. Their expertise and support are foundational to the success of law firms, corporations, and government agencies across the nation. Paralegals are truly the unsung heroes of the legal world. Their work enables attorneys to focus on complex legal matters while ensuring the clients receive high-quality, cost-effective legal services. What an awesome quote, Paige. Could you please share a little bit more about this collaboration between all of these associations and organizations?
Absolutely. So, once you get this perspective of, oh my gosh, we're all doing the same thing across the country, making those connections were so important. What I saw was a gap that some of us were repeating the same things. We are all working toward the same thing, promotion of the profession and having the profession be recognized, but also because it's such a valuable profession to the millions of people who are not getting the legal services that they need. So I really do believe strongly in what I'd said about how valuable paralegals are in the legal ecosystem. That gap, though, meant that for so many of us leaders who were working in a vacuum and not connecting like we should. So in May, I called together what we're calling the Summit, and it's a gathering of almost 10 different national paralegal leaders. AAfPE's in it as the education perspective, but then NALA is in there, all of the different leaderships that you talked about in there. And we started saying, what can we do to really move the needle in a cohesive front? And one of the things is to say, let's recognize paralegals from a National Paralegal Day. And this was largely led by Vinnie Finley, who is the executive director of NALA. But we all came together and said, yes, we're promoting this, and we're going to make sure people know what a paralegal is and what they do and the value that they contribute to our legal system. And so that's how August 6th came about. August 6th was the first many years ago, was the first day that the American Bar Association came out with the definition of what a paralegal is. And so that day ties in with that historic day back in the 1970s, I believe it was.
Thank you so much for sharing that insight and perspective and the background on that page. It's incredible to see that you are really pioneering this type of collaboration between these organizations. So that is a really neat thing to see. And as you know, as the president of AAfPE, this podcast, Legal Luminaries, is a project of the AAfPE Outreach Committee. And the Outreach Committee has also produced very important content, including webinars on access to justice, as you had mentioned, paralegal licensing and the legal practitioner programs, on neurodiversity, and even most recently on behavioral health in the judicial system. And I understand there will be another webinar in the fall, again on access to justice, but this time with a focus on the criminal justice system. So you were the moderator for the webinar on the behavioral health and the judicial system webinar. So I'm wondering, as the president of AAfPE, what do you hope that paralegal educators or anyone really viewing these the podcast, what do you hope that they take away from this kind of content?
So we try to hit a lot of different things, right? So the different variety of topics that you've talked about, our outreach committee really works very hard and very well together to come up with ideas about what is maybe the pain point of what we don't know, what is the unknown, and we like to be on that cutting edge. We want to make sure that as educators, we are teaching our students what they'll need to know 5 and 10 years from now. So we, as educators, it's very important that we're up to date on the most recent informative things that are happening within the profession. Behavioral health was one of those things. And in our justice system, we are seeing just exponentially problems with behavioral health for whatever reason. Many people will say as a result of COVID. And so we're seeing an increase at the backlash from that, but it's becoming an epidemic type of problem. And so we said, let's get out in front of this. We need to really teach our students about being trauma informed and about the secondary trauma that they will need to deal with so that their mental health is also sustained. So we need to start that as educators now. We need to teach them the skills for that. So I was just so happy to have the amazing panel that we had come and talk with us at that last at the last outreach meeting that we had. And it just really was very helpful in terms of getting a good perspective and why we as educators need to start now. Interestingly, the ABA is meeting on this fall. So we're kind of excited. We got out there ahead of there, but I'm glad that we are all focusing on that as well.
Absolutely, Paige. You know, it's really encouraging to see, you know, these different inclusivity and diversity efforts going on a national level, and also providing educational resources and training to help advance the profession, both the candidates coming out of our programs plus those of us that have been in the profession for a number of years. So with that, I know AAfPE has another fall national conference coming up. I believe it's in October in Washington, D.C. this year. So could you tell us a little bit more about what we might expect and why everyone should attend this sort of national conference?
Sure. I'll go back to what I said in the beginning is that, you know, conferences are about connecting and getting perspective. So we will bring together educators from across the country. And the fall conference really focuses on leadership and program management. And so there will be a lot of sessions on that. And it gives you that perspective of what is going on and really takes the time to be able to focus on those things while networking with all of the people across the country as well. I also think it's really important to keep in mind, we are talking about, there will be a behavioral health presentation there. But we're not forgetting our roots either. There will be a lot of presentations on how do you manage a program? How do you teach? What is the best way to teach that darn IRAC, right? I mean, how do we get students to write better? We still have those just absolutely foundational nuts and bolts things. That is what we are as educators And we are also addressing those the cutting edge type of issues as well. So I feel like the national conference gives us that flexibility where people are able to choose, what do they need? Do they need those more progressive ideas, or do they need those foundational things? We've got that all at that conference. And we will be near, it's in Arlington, Virginia, right near the Capitol 1 week before the national election, which is very exciting. So I hope to see everybody there.
Thanks for that. Yeah, we're so excited. Some of the sessions that I saw on the agenda page are just outstanding. I saw one on mentoring, and like you said, even foundational things like the ABA approval process for program directors, just incredibly practical sessions and really forward-thinking sessions, like you said, behavioral health. And I saw a few sessions on AI and how to incorporate that in our content and curriculum. So super, super excited to see that the agenda for the conference. Is there anything else, any other exciting news that you want to share or updates that you want to share with our listeners?
We're doing a lot of different things. We are working hard on revitalizing the EARL, which is our electronic resource library. So that's exciting. That should be rolling out, fingers crossed, at the national conference. At the national conference, please stop by. We will have our own vendor table where we're going to be talking about all the things that AAfPE is doing. This podcast, the EARL, the Educator, which is our scholarly journal, should be published by the end of the year. So that's an opportunity for those of us who are in research universities to be able to really do some deep research and get our information published, as well as those of us who are consuming that information and learning from those. So our listserv remains strong. We've just got a lot of different things going on, and it's very exciting just to be able to see those things coming to fruition. As my presidency closes in October, the things that I've worked on the last 2 years really are just coming to fruition. It's very exciting. I hope that the members really feel that in terms of the benefit that they get from AAfPE. And if there is anything that members want or feel the need for, please, I hope that they realize that we're really open to making any changes or addressing the needs of our membership.
So thank you so much, Paige. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for all of your efforts in your tenure as president of AAfPE, and also for sharing your insights today with us. We hope that you all enjoy this episode of AAfPE at NALACON 24. So those of you that are eager to explore further, we will include relevant links in the show notes below. We do want to give a special acknowledgement to Doug Lusk, of the National Society for Legal Technology for their invaluable contributions to the post-production of this podcast. And we would like to leave you with a thought-provoking question. If you had 20 minutes to interview anyone, who would you choose to speak with? We encourage you to share your thoughts and suggestions with us. And thank you once again. We look forward to having you with us on the next episode of AAfPE's Legal Luminaries. Until then, keep forging those connections and building relationships that illuminate the legal landscape. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Kristine Custodio, Suero, co-host of AAfPE's Legal Luminaries. We are here live in Louisville, Kentucky at the NALA, the Paralegal Association Annual Conference and Expo. We have here today paralegal educator Lori Young, who happens to serve on NALA's School Relations Task Force, and she's also a member of AAfPE. Lori, welcome.
Thank you, Kristine. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today, especially networking, seeing all the people mentoring each other, the educational resources that are available. I just love being here.
Thank you so much. It's just a pleasure to have you here. And I just wanted to chat with you today because, it's always so exciting to be at this event. It's something I look forward to every year as a paralegal and as a paralegal educator. I think it really gives me inspiration, content to help really build my skills in the classroom. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely agree. That's why I'm attending these network sessions or the educational sections.
Yes.
It's helping me get more information that I could pass on to the students.
It's wonderful. And the resources,
Oh.
absolutely incredible. And did you know next year is our 50th anniversary conference and expo? Is that going to be amazing?
It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to attend.
Yes. Next year, July 10th through the 12th, 2025 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. So save the date, folks. Paralegal educators, this is worth coming. And we had Paige Beadham, our president of AAfPE, come and join us on day one of conference. So it was so wonderful to see that connection and the collaboration between the organizations to really uplift and empower paralegals and future paralegals that we're training and teaching.
Absolutely.
So, and I kind of wanted to ask you about this because we went to dinner last night with a large group of us, right? And so we happened to sit near each other. And it just so happened that there were a bunch of paralegal educators on our end of the table, right? So Dina Waters, who is our Western Region Director of AAfPE, was there. And also Kayla Glaros, who's a member of AAfPE as well, who teaches out of St. Petersburg, Florida. And of course, myself from University of San Diego and you. And so we had a gentleman who is known as the co-host of the Paralegal Voice podcast by the name of Tony Sip, and he joined us at our table, and he happened to be sitting next to you. Yes,
he did.
Right, and he actually expressed to all of us paralegal educators nearby that he was interested in possibly going into the education realm, and we said, "Wow, that's fabulous! What are you doing to prepare for that?" Because his background is paralegal manager. He's just got a wide swath of experience, right, in his background. And so some of us had said, "Have you joined an advisory board?" And Lori was just who happened to be sitting right next to Tony, is affiliated with the College of the Canyons, who, by the way, Lori, thank you so much for all of the work you did and for the presentation that you helped build for AAfPE at the conference a couple of years ago now, where you taught about how you use the certification exam, now a certification exam, precisely CP exam, to help your students, right, and to build your students, and that in fact your College of the Canyons is so proactive in your students' success that you encourage them to become certified paralegals, and you even developed a certified paralegal exam prep course for free for all Californians.
That's correct.
Right, and a very low cost for people who are outside of the state.
That's so true.
Right, I mean, that is just the neatest thing. But back to Tony, we asked him about his, do you have you served on an advisory board, any intention? And he said, I was, but then the connection kind of that he had to a local university out in Los Angeles, kind of that didn't work out. And so I said, Tony, did you know Lori Young, who is sitting right next to you? I love the power of networking and connection. So can you kind of give us a scoop of what happened?
Yes, I can. So all of a sudden I was starting to sit down right next to Tony and some other educators. And at that point, Kristine's like, "Oh, do you know Lori? And oh, have you been on an advisory board?" And then my ears are perking up and they're looking at me and I'm like, "Oh, we may have an opening." He's like, "On an advisory board?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, let me check." And I got Tony's contact information. Then I went the next step and I contacted my director, and I've already got the email back saying, "Yes, we could use another advisory board member." And so now I'm looking for Tony to say, "Tony, you're accepted onto our board." It's just like that.
Just like
magic happens at conferences.
This is like a tweetable, or it's not tweetable, but now it's Xable moment. Is it an Xable moment, Lori? Where the magic of what happens at conference is truly the connection, the collaboration, the community, and us being joint members of both NALA and also of AAfPE, and that we serve in these roles because we do have the honor of serving on NALA's School Relations Task Force and also being part of AAfPE. So, I just wanted to share that information with our fellow paralegal educators at AAfPE and our podcast, Legal Luminaries. So thank you so much, Lori.
You're welcome. And
we
if
appreciate
I can
you.
just add one more word.
Yes.
Tony, if you're watching, listening, congratulations.
Yes, absolutely.
College of the Canyons couldn't be more happy to have you join our advisory board.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Kristine, for that connection.
You're welcome.
It wouldn't have happened had it not been for this conference.
Thank you so much. Again, don't forget, as Lori Young said, the magic of what happens at conference. So we hope to see you there in 2025, July 10th through 12th, Atlantic City at NELA's 50th anniversary conference and celebration. So signing out from Louisville, California. I almost said California. Louisville, Kentucky. This is Kristine Custodio, Suero, co-host of AAfPE's Legal Luminaries.
So today I'm here with Kelli Glaros. She's out of Florida and she is a paralegal instructor there. So can you give us a little background for you, Kelli, of what you do and where you are?
Of course. Yes, I am Kelli Glaros. I live in the Tampa, Florida area, and I am an adjunct professor teaching law office practice and technology at St. Petersburg College.
Okay, great. So I was wondering, what made you decide to pursue being a paralegal educator?
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a great story. So I was actually referred to this position by the person that taught me, and I was able to fill her position once she retired. It was a great reference and a great way to enter into this position. It really made me want to give back to the program in which I graduated from. And the opportunity to be the only paralegal educating paralegals in the program that I am in and following in the footsteps of the same type of person was fantastic for me. What a great opportunity to be able to give back to the paralegal students, just like I felt like I had been given back to.
What do you think kind of prompted that inclusive action by your mentor or colleague to pull you into that fold?
I mean, I like to think it's that she knew I was obviously I'm the best student ever. Just kidding.
Of course.
I was her favorite student ever, sure.
Teacher's pet, right?
Yeah. But throughout my time as a paralegal student, I really tried to do things to incorporate students, the paralegal students, into the education that they were receiving, create opportunities for them to work with their professors, to network within the community, and really work on, working together as a team, even from the beginning, the attorneys and the paralegal students.
I really like that. Do you feel like while you were preparing for that and, contemplating all of these, how you navigate being an educator, do you think there were a skill set that you developed during that process?
Oh, yeah. So I definitely didn't go to school to be an educator. Right. I didn't think that I was going to be an educator at any point in my career up until that point. So no, it was not something that I had adequately prepared for in terms of, this particular position. However, in this class, Law Office Practice and Technology, for the students' purpose, it was way more about the practice and procedure every day rather than the practice of law. So I think that, one, I was adequately prepared for that, having worked as a paralegal for quite some time before then. And two, I was able to have my teacher as a mentor and the other professors, because again, I'm adjunct faculty, but other professors within the program to be able to, provide me with resources, give me expectations of what students would want to come out of this class with, and talk to me a little bit about what they're teaching in their classes, so that I could have some baseline resources to go into this course with.
I love that you touch on the resources, because that's, as a paralegal educator myself, I'm often confronted with, where do I look for answers or solutions or, options, not just for my own decision making, but for the students' decisions.
Absolutely.
So what do you think are, your top places that you turn for those resources outside of your mentors and other professionals in your program?
Right. So definitely some of my own resources, just from experiencing being a paralegal for so long. Two, for sure, AAfPE, reaching out to AAfPE and other adjunct professors that I know among the nation, not just even in Florida. I think for adjunct professors, it's a little bit more difficult. We don't necessarily know off the bat who to contact. But having and creating and developing that network of other adjunct professors, other paralegal educators, and especially for me being a paralegal myself and not an attorney, other paralegals educating paralegals is extremely important to provide the most relevant information for what students in my type of class need.
Well, and I love that you brought that up, because as a paralegal and a paralegal educator myself, I've found that power of like our camaraderie, right? And our collaboration enhances my skills and therefore sets me up to be a better educator.
Absolutely.
And like, much like you, I didn't go into being a paralegal to be an educator, right? It just sort of organically happened. And so I'm really interested in, what was the step where where was that pivot point for you, where you were like, other than your mentor saying, hey, I think you would really be good in this, was there a part in your operational processing where you're like, oh, this is the next step to go up the ladder, to get somewhere that I never thought I was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that when it happened that was even my stepping point. I think honestly probably 2-3 years into teaching that I was like, oh my gosh, this is really something I want to do. This is not just I'm filling in until we figure it out, or I'm kind of doing a semester or two here. This is something I legitimately want to do. And when I talked to the school about it and was like, I want to do this. I want to take over this class. I think this is absolutely a fantastic step for me. Mm-hmm. And yeah, then I started, researching more and figuring out more things that I could do within the course to help build it up and to make it my own. And, the teacher before me, the professor before me, was a fantastic professor. I didn't feel like I needed to change a lot of her information, but at that point I started to make it my own. I put my own spin on it. And that's when it, really clicked for me that, wow, this is something I want to keep doing. And I would probably teach more classes if given the opportunity.
Right.
I mean, I just love to be able to help new paralegal students.
So how do you balance that though? How do you balance full-time work?
We just don't sleep anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, do you sleep?
No, not really. I mean, when I'm at a conference, I try and get, 6 or 7 hours each night. But yeah, I mean, life is very full.
It's hard, yeah.
So, with that, like, you've been addressing your diverse needs to thrive as a professional, right? So, like, how do you, I don't know, what methods of teaching do you employ to kind of message that to your students?
Yeah, so I think that for the attorneys teaching in the rest of my program and most paralegal programs, they're focused on the practice of law. They're focused on the background knowledge that you need to know and understanding how to apply that law and how to read and understand it as a paralegal. They're not necessarily talking about the practical aspects of being a paralegal or working in a law office. So I've tried to really come at this class and to my students, be available to my students as a resource for that more practical experience. Give them, background about what situations I've been in that they may need to think about or deal with at some point, and really provide practical resources. So in my class, I do 2 major things for my students every semester. One is I do a paralegal panel every semester so that my students can have access to multiple paralegals around the country and can frankly ask them questions without feeling, nervous or scared to ask them stuff. They can do it anonymously prior to, they can do it during the class, and just ask them anything, basically. The other thing I do is the entire semester is built where the students are completing projects to combine into a complete law office manual. So they have something physical to take with them. Digital now, but they get to use it in Adobe and build it up in either Adobe or Word so that they're actively using programs that they're going to be using in a law office. Creating their own policies and procedures and documents that they can use in the law offices they even work in now. And it has something that they can take with them tangibly to an interview even.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of threefold of what the purpose of it is, but yeah, they get to actually walk away with something. And it's practical experience and experience that they're going to need within a law office. So I find that that's been a great resource for students and a great way for them to feel like I'm not just doing homework or, stuff you find from a book. We are actually doing real life things.
Practical work. It's not just busy work, right?
Right.
Although I do find it interesting sometimes I will get feedback like, oh, it seems like such busy work. And it's like, well, listen, when in the legal environment, you're going to have a variety of tasks on your to-do list.
Right.
And if you don't pay attention to those things that you think are busy work, the little details,
Mhm.
you are going to be buried at the end of the week. And so you have to prioritize those, even when you have other urgent or pressing, really complex issues, right? And so learning it before you're thrown into the fire, learning how to manage that, I think is super important. So I love that you kind of incorporate that, all that learning curve into the class, as opposed to having that learning curve hit them when they first start working. So what areas then of paralegal education do you think need more attention or development in order to create thriving, successful candidates out of these programs?
I would say primarily those practical and durable skills, and also technology. Now, I know we all kind of incorporate technology where we can, how we can within our different classes, but I've had students come into my class even saying they've never worked with Adobe or PowerPoint, which is fascinating to me because those are things that we work in a law office with just about every day. So we can't get to the point where our students are graduating programs if they haven't done some of those more what we consider in a law office basic technology requirements that they should be learning. And not just, I can create a PDF, but be able to manipulate that PDF or whatever document it is. So really practical and durable skills, that and some technology are the areas that need the most improvement, development for students.
Yeah, I love that. It takes me back to like computer lab days.
Right?
And I mean, aging myself maybe here, but
how many words can you type
in
a minute?
primary school, like in elementary school, we were required.
Right.
I mean, it was that old Mac, your first playing Oregon Trail or something. But, you had computer class. You had to learn how to type. And then now fast forward, kids aren't learning cursive, right? Like they are immediately learning how to use their fingers to push a button to create text.
It's wild.
And so like we have to integrate these labs, right? But how do we do that with adults? It's one thing for children, that we force them to learn the technology because that's going to be what their world consists of.
Right.
But now adults who have grown up without that in their pocket, right? How do we incentivize that learning?
That, and how do we even deal with setting up a lab of some sort if we're in a remote environment?
Right.
I mean, that's a whole other
totally
issue that we have to deal with. But yeah, I mean, I think having some sort of demo labs, especially, I teach a live online class, but if we can do that even live online, make it a part of our curriculum more and more. I mean, it's not going to do anything except for benefit our students, and imploring our students to understand that these are not just, ifs in a law office. These are for sure. So you are for sure going to be using Word or Adobe or, case management software, whatever particular kind it may be, sure, but you're going to be using these programs, and you have to know how to use these programs the day you walk into a law office.
Right. Yeah, I think of the day when I first started at a large law firm, and like training was, 3 weeks of training, and you get out of training and you're like, I don't even know what to do. Like, what do I do?
Where's my desk?
Yeah, I was like, I don't even know how to answer the phone or call out of here. You know? So that learning curve, like instead of having a new professional face that with their first job, let's give them these resources and skills beforehand, right?
Because you want them to learn the things that are specific to that firm during their training.
Exactly.
You don't want them to learn how to answer the phone properly, professionally. You don't want them to have to learn what is case management software.
How do I bill my time?
What does it actually do? Yeah, things like that.
What does point one mean?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a part of our law office manual, actually. They have to do their time logs the entire course, my entire course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, those practical exercises really play into your success at your first role.
100%.
Because I mean, I've been in roles where I was like, oh my gosh, if I was trying to learn how to be a paralegal and all of this, I would walk right out the door. I'd
be terrified.
Yeah, terrified. And my brain would be overloaded with information. I don't want to do that to others. So, okay, so last question here. Just kind of wrap it up. What are your thoughts on the future of the paralegal education, and the profession in general?
I think that for paralegal education, my biggest thing is we have to be able to collaborate more as professors. We need to find a way to work together. And I definitely think some of that happens within an AAfPE setting for sure.
Yeah.
But as more specifically for adjunct professors, we need to find ways to communicate with each other, share resources, and provide more of a baseline standard across the board for what our paralegals are learning. For the profession itself, we have to focus on what are the things for our paralegals, what is it most important for our paralegals to come away with now that we weren't thinking about 5-10 years ago?
Yeah.
What are the added things that we're not even thinking about teaching because we didn't think about teaching them,
Right.
that have been changes, even like data privacy, AI, so many cool new things that are developing that maybe our students know about outside of the legal profession, but how does it apply to the legal profession and to their ethical obligations, their job every day,
Right.
that we need to be thinking about incorporating.
That's so true. The big picture, right?
Yeah.
It's this whole picture. Which is that holistic approach, right?
Yeah.
We have to have that holistic approach in the teaching space in order to create holistic approach in the professional space, right?
100%.
So, okay. Well, I love that we got to talk today, and thank you for sharing all of your expertise with so many of us at the conference. I mean,
thank you.
and again, like what you were saying, this connection for paralegal educators. You have organizations like AAfPE and certain different organizations, but you also have conferences like this, right? Where amazingly, there was 6 to 8 of us that
paralegal educators
that hadn't maybe ever met physically in person, and now we got to sit and collaborate and talk and brainstorm, and
we need more space for that.
Yes, I totally agree. Whether it's virtual or in person,
sure, yeah.
I mean, but I do think that that's a strong message that we can push out to our stakeholders.
Agreed, because hey, our laws may be different from state to state, but those core competencies that we want our paralegals to walk away from school with have not changed from coast to coast. I mean, They're not going to change.
Nope, they aren't. So thank you so much, Kayla. It was really fun talking with you.
Hi, this is Kristine Custodio, Suero, co-host of AAfPE's Legal Luminaries. We are here live and in person in Louisville, Kentucky. And I have here with me
co-host Kelli Radnothy. I am so excited to be here. This has been such a magical moment, a magical weekend actually. The connections, the community, the collaboration, and the learning. It's been top notch. So.
Absolutely. The learning, like you said, the educational sessions have just been outstanding, and the opportunities to connect with other fellow paralegal educators from around the country has just been excellent. And we have been able to connect with people that we weren't in connection with already, right?
Right.
Here at conference, we even had a little, a side session that we were like, hey, any other paralegal educators around? Come meet us over here. We're just going to do a quick brainstorming session on topics and resources and what you're seeing in terms of trends and developments. So I'm so glad, and you're a first timer here at this NALA conference, so it was so good to have you here, Kelli. But we're here on day 3, the last day of conference, and some key takeaways, like Kelli said, just having access to some of the top tier talent. We had the opportunity to talk to Lori Young, who is a faculty member out at College of the Canyons in Los Angeles, California, Santa Clara, California, let me correct that. And it was really wonderful just to have, folks, from the paralegal educator world here as well, just kind of picking up content and resources to give and provide to our students to help them along their journey.
Absolutely. I found out some facts too. The majority of NALA's membership is practicing paralegals, right? But a good portion of that are students also, which is super exciting for us because we look at NALA and AAfPE as, this kind of centraling force for education and learning in this space. And so I think being able to be here and be in front and spread awareness for students of the value of both AAfPE, right, for paralegal educators, but also NALA. we couldn't get these opportunities. I would have never met Lori Young without this, right? I mean, Tony said all of these people that we might have a touch with in our legal field, in the legal landscape, but now we get to be in person. And that's amazing to me. And these students get to see it, right? These young budding paralegals, they're learning from us and we're learning from them. It's like the most magical situation.
It's what Lori said, right? The magic of what happens at conference. So, you know, I think there's such a benefit, a tremendous benefit between that connection and collaboration. So we really encourage folks in AAfPE to really get partnered up, collaborate with folks in other organizations so that we can really help build each other up and really get those really important resources to our students. So thank you so much, and I hope to see everyone at next year's conference in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Woo-hoo! 2025, 50 years, celebrating NALA.
Thanks.
See you soon.